Hi everyone and welcome to today's webinar, DIY Data Visualizations in Reveal. With me as usual is Casey McGuigan, our product manager for Reveal, and my name is Jason Barris. I'm our Senior VP of Developer Tools here at Infragistics. Both of our emails, please use them if you have questions, want to do follow-ups, want to get a deep dive, or just want to learn more about Reveal after the webinar. We would love to talk to you. So today's agenda: Reveal visualizations. We're going to take a look at what you get with Reveal and like how they're grouped and sort of some of the experiences that you can build. And then, of course, today's topic is around DIY visualization. So DIY meaning do it yourself. How do you bring in custom visualizations into the dashboard experience? One of the cool things about Reveal is we are one of the only vendors that allow this. So we do have a lot of customers that come to us because they have domain-specific visualizations to their business and they want to use them in a dashboarding tool. Well, Reveal fully supports this, and you're going to see how it works today, and it's very easy to implement. And then, of course, after you add a DIY visualization, how can you customize this for the end user so it's easy for them to get at their visualizations? We've implemented some features there that make it really simple for you to deliver a great experience. And then finally, we will wrap up. A little housekeeping. Recording and slides will be available after the webinar. You'll get an email from JJ or Jesse tomorrow from the product marketing side, and you'll get all the information from today. Please ask questions in the questions window. We'll get to them throughout the webinar, and then we'll stay on a little bit after to make sure that we answer all the questions. And then after I do the demo, we are going to do a poll. So please answer the poll questions because they help us drive features in the product, which is really ultimately for you. So everything that we're doing here is based on what you need in your products to deliver to your customers. So let's go ahead and get started. So Reveal visualizations. What do you get out of the box with Reveal? Well, currently there's 37 visualizations in Reveal. They cover all of the core visualization capabilities that you would expect. Data comparison, part to wholes, data distribution, trending analysis, data relationships, KPIs and gauges, and then geospatial data. So really all of your common business chart types, scientific chart types, and then different types of charts that maybe aren't as common, like maybe a tree map chart or a scatter map chart. These are things that we include in the box. They're really easy to configure. And one of the nice things specifically around like the choropleth maps, the geospatial mapping, is that we include certain shapefiles, Esri shapefiles with the product. So they cover like all of the continents, regions, etc. But maybe you have something very specific. Maybe you want to do counties in your particular state, or if you're in a country and you have different regions, geographical regions in your country, and you have your own shapefiles. Because we are an SDK, you can customize how all that works. So really, we don't get a lot of people saying, oh, I wish you had this specific basic chart. We get a lot of, hey, I have a highly customized visualization, very specific to my domain, my industry, our company. How can I make that work in Reveal? And that's where custom visualizations come into play. So here's a dashboard, and we're actually going to build this today, is a native Reveal stacked column chart on the left-hand side. And here I've applied a custom theme. And then on the right-hand side, we have a custom data grid component. This happens to be from the Infragistics Ignite UI components. This is an Angular grid, and it has all kinds of features like advanced filtering, column pinning, column grouping, all these things that we don't have in the base grid in Reveal. So maybe you want to enable some of these extra features to your end users. How do you do that? Well, you would use a custom visualization to do that. And in the case of something like Ignite UI, this is an Angular component, but we have the same thing in React. We have the same thing in a Blazor. We have the same thing as a web component. So it doesn't really matter what your client framework is. We can support basically anything because Reveal is based on a client-side JavaScript library, so there's no framework tied to it. And any DIY visualization, as long as it's at some accessible endpoint, like your domain / custom visualization.html, we can pull that in. So there's really no limit to what you are allowed to do. So why would you use a custom visualization, and what are some of those custom visualization filters? So of course the idea is, I have a few screenshots here of very specialized chart types. I have a org chart, I have some sort of a circular chart, which is pretty cool. I've got a Sankey diagram, I've got a type of a heat map visualization here. These aren't your standard chart types. Now, maybe eventually all these end up as standard chart types in Reveal. I don't really know. But the idea is you need to do things that are outside the box. That's why we are an SDK. That's why we are trying to tailor this to your experience, not what we're just delivering outside the box. So the features you get are you can match the brand and theming of your application. Because you have full control over the Reveal theming and branding, you can apply that same theming and branding to your custom component. So we're not limiting you there. The nice thing is when you add a new visualization, you're still using the same visualization editor as if it was a native component. So you're dragging fields in, your visualization is appearing there in the visualization editor. So when you save it, and let's say you're adding a filter, it'll automatically participate in the filter experience of your application. Like I just said, you add and edit this just like any other visualization. So add new visualization, you add your data source, you select your visualization from the chart chooser, and it's just like you're building a column chart or a pie chart or any other chart that lives within the Reveal SDK. It is self-hosted, so this is, it's wherever you want it to be. And my application today, I have custom components in my core Reveal client app. You might have these at other endpoints, and you'll see when we add this custom visualization to the chart chooser how you can customize those endpoints. And our goal really is that you can deliver any experience that you can imagine with any UI control or library. So in this example, I did some searches of just like custom chart types on Google, and you can see like the Sankey chart's a D3 chart. The heat map looking chart is an Apex chart. The org chart is from, I think, orgchart.com. The circular chart, I'm not sure where it's from, but any one of these can be used in Reveal. We don't care, and they will work just like any other visualization. So how does this actually work? It is super simple. So you can see here in my slide, I've got Reveal. There's my dashboard on the one side, and on the other side, I've got all my custom controls that I want to use. While what we have is a JavaScript file called reveal.bridge.js. You add that to your project, you reference it in your project, and then all you're doing is in your custom component, you are assigning data to whatever values, rows you need, or that your visualization expects. And then when we're dragging fields and the Reveal editor, it's actually executing that code when that data is ready, and that's how your component populates. And we're going to take a look at that today on how easy it is to get that going. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at a demo and see how all this works. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this standard dashboard. It was in one of my screenshots in the slides, and we're going to add a custom visualization to it. So this is just a standard stacked chart, and you can see that I'm hovering over. I've got my drill down capability, drill up capability based on the campaign. I have a couple filters here. So this data source, if we go and edit, and I will edit this particular visualization, is using the marketing table in this samples spreadsheet that we have. Now what I want to use is a custom grid component that I've added to my application. So if I look at my core dashboard viewer here, there's really nothing out of the ordinary if you've ever seen Reveal. This is as simple as it is to get Reveal going in your app. In this case, I'm creating a new Reveal theme with those custom blue colors. and I'm setting that theme to the theme property of the Reveal SDK settings. I'm enabling interactive filtering, and I am letting the reveal view.dashboard equal this dashboard object, which is the marketing dashboard, which just has that simple stack chart. So how do I now go ahead and add my own custom visualization? Well, in this project, if we go over to the DIY grid component, you're going to see that I've got an HTML and a TypeScript file here for my DIY grid. In this case, I'm using the IGX grid, which, as I mentioned, is an Infragistics Angular grid that is used as part of our Angular product. Now, this here is like the template for the grid. I have some columns and whatnot, but none of this is actually going to be used by the Reveal engine. I'm going to ignore all of this because my JavaScript bridge is looking at the data coming in from whatever data source you're using inside of Reveal. How does that work? If I go to the DIY grid component, what you're going to see here is in the ng on init, we have the Reveal bridge listener. And what the Reveal bridge listener is doing is it's waiting for data to be added to this visualization. So we'll look at this in a second, but if you've used Reveal before, when you add a data source to a visualization, you have all the fields in your fields chooser, and then you're dragging individual field labels over to like rows or values, columns or rows or values in your visualization. So every time that happens, we are responding to it here because it's the bridge listener is waiting for data to be available to this component. So what happens when that data is available to that component? All I'm doing is, in this case, because it's a data grid, I am iterating through whatever values are available to me, and I'm adding column names, or I'm adding row objects to the actual grid. So if you were doing an individual, or not an individual, but if you were doing a chart, for example, you might have just label, value, or a category. So you're pulling in this data and you are explicitly assigning it to object arrays that are then being bound to your component. And that's how easy it is. It doesn't matter what type of visualization you have. You are iterating through the data that is being dragged onto the column, row, value, or category area in your visualization editor, and that's just lighting up the component. So it's super simple to do this. All of this is handled by the Reveal JavaScript bridge, and this is the API that you're going to use in your application. In this case, as I'm adding rows to my grid, they're populating this data object and they're being pushed out into the grid, and they will render as rows and columns in this grid. So basically that's how easy it is. So I have my component, it's ready to go. How do I actually make this thing work? So the first thing that I'm going to do is add my new custom visualization. So what we've added this year as a feature is the ability to push new chart types to the chart types array. So in this case, we have a title, we have a URL, and we have an icon that you can set on the chart type dropdown, which will then give the end user the ability to see the visualization that you would like to add. So in this case, I have the title for my component. It's going to be called Acme Grid, just so it sticks out. I'm running my application on localhost 4200. So that is all built into this application already. As I said earlier, this could really be any endpoint. It doesn't matter. I want a specific image. In this case, I'm just going to use the Reveal image, and I want it to be in the grids group. So you can create your own new group. So this could be called Acme Corp, which would be a whole new group, and then you can have as many visualizations in there as you want. In this case, I want this to be in the grids group. Also, you can add as many visualizations as you'd like. So in this case, I'm just adding a single one. I can add as many as I want. How does this look to the end user? If we go back to our dashboard, this is our Acme Corp dashboard. If I go into edit mode here and I click plus visualization, I'm going to use the samples data set. And within that, I have the marketing table. I'll select my data. Now, what do I want to use? I want to go to my drop down, and there you go. I have my Acme grid in the grid section. So I'm going to select the Acme grid, and I have rows, values, and columns for this particular visualization. So let's go ahead and add the campaign ID. Now, this is what is so cool about Reveal. Reveal's purpose in life is to aggregate data. It wants to aggregate data. It wants to go to the data set and say, hey, you have 1,000 of these like categories with a value like, amount. I want to summarize all of those based on unique categories and then return that so you can display it inside of like a column chart, a bar chart, whatever. So now if I just grab new seats and put it over to values, it actually summarized all of the new seats. Now, I didn't do anything special in my JavaScript code to make this happen. The Reveal engine did it. By using the Reveal bridge and adding your own custom component, you're participating in everything Reveal has to offer. So now maybe I don't want this summary, but let's just take a look at this anyway. So if I make this a column chart, there you go. It's amethyst, aquamarine, diamond, etc. And this is the column chart. This is the exact same data. I want to go back and select my Acme grid. And I don't want to do values. I just want to add these as individual rows. Now, magically, I've got all of my campaigns with the individual values for new seats that I had, in my data set. So I can add something like date. Maybe I'll move this down here. I want to use territory maybe. So essentially, I'm building out what I would do maybe in code for a data grid like this, but although Reveal is handling all of this work for me. So this is the value of Reveal and then using your custom visualizations. So why am I using this particular visualization? I'm going to go ahead and check the box up here on the right hand side. My visualization shows up. I'm going to check the box again. So now it's saved. I use this visualization because it has some extra feature. It has in-place filtering. If I just want to filter on objects specifically for this visualization, I can actually do that. I'll go back and I'll select all. Maybe I want to do a custom text filter, something a little bit more advanced that Reveal doesn't support. I can do that with this type of visualization. I don't have a ton of columns here, but let's go back and let's edit this again. And let me add a few more columns to this. So I'll just keep adding a bunch of columns here, and you'll see that I'll get my scroll bar on the bottom, and we'll add traffic I probably already have. So I think I basically have most of this stuff here, average CPC, and let's add conversions. Oh, somehow I dragged that to some sort of a hierarchy. Reveal automatically will allow a hierarchy. So let me do this. Let me put territory down here like so, and campaign ID we'll put down here as well, because I want to kind of show an example of why this is cool. So your data comes in, someone builds this chart for you. Now you're actually looking at this chart and you're scrolling. You're like, okay, all this data is great, but I really want the territory to be pinned to the left, and I want the campaign ID to be pinned to the left. So now I have a grid with columns pinned to the left. Maybe I just want to export this data to Excel. So now if I export this file to Excel, I have all of the data and I have the same columns pinned to the left, just like I did in the grid itself. So very cool how this works. Now the other nice thing here is Reveal loves to automatically filter things. So in this case, you'll notice that I have some filters up in the top, territory and campaign ID. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into edit mode, and I want to edit the campaign ID filter, and I want to connect the marketing visualization to this, and then I want to do the same thing for territory. I want to connect all these guys together. So now my filters are connected, and if I go to campaign and I just want to look at Ruby, I'm going to hit apply, and then just like that, I only see Ruby in my grid, and I only see Ruby here in the chart on the left. Now, if I say Ruby, Diamond, and Topaz and click apply, the same thing will happen. I'll have Ruby, Diamond, and Topaz all inside of this grid, all filtered together. So everything is actually participating in all the features of Reveal. Didn't have to do anything special to make this work. Now there's one other thing I want to highlight here. If I go to the edit mode and I'm going to add a new visualization, we'll do the same thing. We'll use the marketing table and I go to my drop down. I have the Acme grid, but let's say I only want the Acme grid. I don't want grid, pivot grid, and text view. Well, no problem. Let's go ahead, close this out. I'll minimize this and we're back here. So what I want to do now is use another API that we've added, which allows you to remove items from the chart chooser. So here we're going to create an array of chart types to remove. So I want to remove DIY, grid, and text grid. I'll leave pivot grid in there for now. And then I just use the reveal view.charttypes.filter. I pass it my chart types to remove, and this will remove those chart types from that chart chooser. So let's go back to our dashboard. I'm going to go ahead and do edit, new visualization. I'll open up my same data set, and let's say, hey, let's go ahead and add a text view. Well, guess what? The text view is gone. So you are getting now a complete access to remove existing chart options, the ability to add your own chart groups, and within those chart groups, add your own visualizations. Now, the other thing is, like if I wanted to add most popular and add Acme grid to most popular, I could do that as well. You have total control over how this looks and works for your end users. And one more real quick sample I want to highlight, because this is also pretty cool when you think about maybe a more advanced visualization. I mean, a grid has a lot of cool features, and you saw some of those today. But I have another example of a custom component, and in this case, it is using the Apex charts. Apex is a nice open source chart library, which we love. And in the Apex chart, if I go to the heat map component, I want to thank Brian Lagunas for a little assist here on getting this working. But the way that Apex works is you have these JSON arrays of the chart type and the plot options and then the data. So how do we get the data into the right format for what the chart would need for its series information? So again, we're doing the same thing. As I'm dragging data from my fields list over into my columns and rows or values, the Reveal bridge is listening for that data to update. So what's happening here is I'm doing similar to what I did with the data grid, except that we are parsing the incoming data so it doesn't auto sum. So it's trying to actually auto sum that data. We just want the data to list as it's sort of like a grid, but this isn't a grid. This is a heat map component. So how does this look in real life? This guy's on localhost 65104. What I'm going to do here, this is a sales dashboard. I'm going to go to edit and I'm going to add a new visualization. My data is coming from SQL Server. So I'm going to click SQL Server, and I have a table here called, I think it was quarterly sales data. So let's take a look at what is in the quarterly sales data. These are all the employees. And then here I have their quarterly, let's say this was their how they did against quota. So Robert King did 84% in Q1, 57 in Q2, etc. So let's go ahead and chart this. So I could very easily just drag my employee name and we'll add Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So this is cool. I mean, it's useful, it's functional. If I go to like a stacked, maybe this is cool as well. Not bad. A grid, certainly. That would just look like it wasn't SQL Server. But how about a custom visualization like a heat map? So a heat map will give me some visuals. Like instantly I know who was good, who was bad. Looks like I messed up on my legend here, but red is high, red is good. and it looks like yellow is bad or blue is actually bad, shades of blue. But the point is that this visualization better lets the user quickly analyze this data versus a stacked column or a grid. And this is using a custom Apex chart. So I'll check this box and my visualization ends up down here. Let me do a little resizing like so. I could make this a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll make it go all the way across like this. And very slick. I could even drag this all the way up to the top if I choose to, or maybe I got to put that one down there. We'll put that one down there. So now I have my quarterly sales data visualization using the Apex charts heat map. Reveal doesn't have a heat map. Maybe it doesn't have a heat map yet. Maybe we'll one day. But this is the point. Using a custom visualization, you can deliver any type of experience that you'd like with Reveal. With that, let's head back over to the slides and wrap this up. Okay, so there you have it. A couple killer examples of how that works for your own custom visualizations, how you can add your own visualizations to the chart chooser, and how all this can come together to deliver great experiences on your own. So now it's the poll time. Please answer the poll as it pops up. And again, this is really important because the poll is what drives our understanding of what you're looking for in the product. And if you're not a customer, then what you're looking for in BI products in general. So we can obviously cater to your needs. So let's wrap this up. Download the Reveal SDK today and get a trial license. The way that Reveal works is you go to revealbi.io, download SDK, and you fill out some information, and then you are emailed a trial license key. There is instructions on how to use that trial license key. It's good for 30 days, so you have a 30-day trial. The best thing for you to do, however, is to contact us, and we do a demo, we understand your needs, and then we tailor your trial experience to exactly what you need to be successful with the product. We figure out what your top success criteria are. We give you sample code, get you going, show you how to connect to your database, and really do what it takes with a white glove experience to get you going with Reveal in a successful way. Once you download the trial, if you want to check out some of these custom visualization options, if you're new to the product, this is probably going a little too far for day one, but as you are learning the product and you do maybe have something that you want to use, take a look at GitHub. We have 2 repos there, or 2 folders in the samples, SDK samples JavaScript repo that deal with custom visualizations or chart types. And this will help you get started with that. If you're an existing customer and you've always wanted to try this, go ahead and check those out. And then, of course, email sales@revealbi.io to get started today with your Reveal trial, because if you're not using BI yet, you should be. Delivering data-driven experiences in your applications to your customers or even inside of your enterprise is what drives business today. So there's so many, I forget the percentage, but only 20% of the data in any company is actually being used for productive delivering decision making today. Why? Because you're not using data analytics software and dashboarding tools to help your customers or your users understand how to use that data to make better decisions. So email sales@revealbi.io today, or email casey@cmcguigan@infragistics.com, or myself at jasonb@infragistics.com. And with that, we will stay on and we will finish answering all of the questions, give you time to finish the poll. And I do want to thank everyone for joining today. I know you have a lot of options for your time, and we really appreciate you attending this webinar to learn about Reveal and how to embed custom visualizations into your applications. So with that, we will see you at the next webinar. Thanks again, everyone.